Coming, going, trying to get to work or a holiday or back home to family. Every day, these are the goals travelers pack with them, and those who use Hamad International Airport in Doha are no different. But in light of the diplomatic crisis between Qatar and several of its neighbors, the future of Qatar's aviation industry, and indeed its entire economy, has come into question.
We have made flight bookings before the blockade, but now the fares have gone up remarkably. We are now trying to find cheap flights. In addition, transit duration are very long. We hope that an amicable solution is achieved. At the end of the day, we are all Arabs. We pray things will go back to normal.
Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, Egypt and Bahrain cut off ties with Doha on June 5th, imposing a trade blockade and refusing to let Qatar Airways planes through their airspace.
It's like cutting the oxygen. What I mean is, actually, the air, it is international space, is above 30,000 feet, is owned by nobody.
As a result, the airline has had to redirect many flights, potentially increasing fuel use and other expenses.
I do not mind the rise in fare, simply because the flights are now longer due to the blockade. I have no expertise in aviation, but I think QA has the right to hike its fare due to additional cost and the airport and the fuel consumption.
But airline officials have said they've not lost significant business, and Qatar Airways is still buying new jumbo jets and expanding service to additional cities. Still, aviation experts say traffic in and out of Hamad has probably fallen by at least 25% since the crisis began, thanks to the cancellation of all flights between Doha, Dubai, and Abu Dhabi. For economic reasons, Doha has asked a UN agency, the International Civil Aviation Organization, to force the other countries to reopen their airspace to flights in and out of Doha. The agency's regional office in Cairo will hold a meeting on Thursday to discuss technical aspects of the Qatar case. A follow-up meeting will be held at its headquarters in Montreal later in the month. Even so, a longtime expert on aviation disputes warns that Qatar does run the risk of losing its case.
Not all countries subscribe to the ICAO recommendations. And of course, ICAO or the United Nations has no means of overturning a nation's sovereignty. So I don't see that there's an easy solution to the problem. I think eventually the problem will be solved through diplomatic channels.
The word from Qatar Airways and from airport officials is that operations aren't going to change here in face of the crisis. There is, after all, the World Cup in 2022 and all the expected football fans, which means the airport has to be able to accommodate them. There's also the ongoing expansion of Qatar's economic and educational sectors that require additional airport capacity. The question is, for how much longer can Qatar's aviation industry survive the financial hit from a diplomatic fight that's now entering its second month?